The issue of the carbon tax is a key example. Singh made a show of saying he was willing to part ways with Trudeau on this issue, but Poilievre has highlighted how quickly Singh returned to supporting Trudeau as soon as he felt confident in his position. For Poilievre, this shows a lack of authenticity and a focus on political expediency over the interests of the population. At the same time, he does not hesitate to point to growing problems, such as rising crime and the cost of living, insinuating that these policies only serve to compound the hardships faced by families. As Trudeau tries to maintain his focus on the carbon tax as an environmental solution, Poilievre takes every opportunity to stress that the real impact is felt in the pocketbooks of Canadians who grapple with high costs of essential goods and basic services. In this scenario, Poilievre is not only criticizing the coalition's politics, but also highlighting how this alliance between the NDP and the Liberals seems to be causing more harm than good. Every time Poilievre steps onto the podium, he addresses the problems Canadians face every day: rising food prices, a lack of affordable housing, and rising crime. Meanwhile, Jagmeet Singh and Trudeau continue to champion policies that Poilievre says are only making things worse. Poilievre accuses Singh of pretending to be an ombudsman, but says Singh is actually more concerned with keeping his place in the coalition with Trudeau than actually questioning decisions that are affecting people. For Poilievre, the fact that Singh supports the carbon tax and other economic policies shows that his approach is far from the needs of average Canadians. How can you talk about protecting the environment while families can't meet their basic needs? Is a question that Poilievre throws into the air every time the subject comes up. His criticism is not only directed at Singh, but also at Trudeau himself, whom he accuses of living in a bubble, while problems on the streets continue to grow. Poilievre goes further and stresses that, while Trudeau and Singh speak of progress, the figures in Canadian cities show the opposite: an increase in vehicle thefts, inflation that hits households hard, and a justice system that, according to Poilievre, is too soft on offenders. For him, this is proof that the coalition is not really committed to improving the quality of life of the population. Canadians don't need government summits, they need real solutions, Poilievre says. And according to him, every summit or meeting that Trudeau organizes ends with the problem still mounting. In this sense, Poilievre argues that the country is being led by a government disconnected from reality and supported by an NDP leader who, instead of being an alternative, has become an accomplice. Meanwhile, Singh tries to justify his decisions, but Poilievre gives him no respite. It points to how Singh, in an attempt to maintain his image, made a show of breaking the coalition with Trudeau, only to then resume his stance of support as soon as the by-election was over. For Poilievre, this is proof that Singh is not acting with real conviction, but is more interested in his own political survival. Poilievre's insistence on exposing Singh's double face reflects a calculated strategy to dismantle the NDP leader's image as an independent. According to Poilievre, this behavior shows that Singh is not a true defender of citizens, but just another actor in a political game. Poilievre does not miss an opportunity to remind the public that the current leadership is failing to protect Canadians. According to him, Trudeau and Singh talk a lot about change and progress, but the results in Canadian communities tell another story: more people turning to food banks, more homeless encampments, and an economy that simply doesn't live up to the leader's promises. For Poilievre, these empty promises show that the current government and its allies are disconnected from the challenges faced by ordinary citizens. Poilievre mentions that Trudeau and Singh's policies are punishing Canadians who are just trying to make ends meet. With the carbon tax driving up commodity prices, Poilievre wonders how Trudeau and Singh can call themselves ombudsmen when their decisions are making life more expensive for everyone. And Poilievre is clear. This is not just a problem of economic policy. It is a question of priorities. Who is really fighting for Canadians? He asks rhetorically, leaving his listeners to draw their own conclusions. In his critique, Poilievre also points out that the high levels of criminality are a clear reflection of the government's lack of control over public security issues. According to him, Trudeau has softened justice policies and allowed crime to rise unchecked. Poilievre exposes hard data, such as the increase in car thefts in major cities, and argues that the lax approach of the government and its allies has only led to an increase in insecurity. While Poilievre presents his arguments, he does not miss the opportunity to emphasize that Singh remains at Trudeau's side, supporting these policies. For him, this shows that Singh is more focused on maintaining his alliance than on questioning the problems that the government itself has created. Poilievre sums up his message like this: "This is not the kind of leadership Canada needs." And with this, he emphasizes that it is time to take a different stance and challenge the status quo. For Poilievre, the irony is that Singh came to Parliament promising to be a leader who would change things, who would take a firm stance on issues such as the carbon tax. But, as he emphasizes, as soon as the pressure eased, Singh returned to his alliance with Trudeau, leaving his promises behind. Poilievre sees this as a clear act of betrayal of voters who once believed in Singh as an independent alternative. Poilievre's approach seeks to show that Canadians are not only being let down by Trudeau, but are also seeing Singh give up his role as an opponent, becoming complicit in policies that are hurting families. Poilievre makes it clear that for him, this is a critical moment, in which Canadians must ask themselves if they want to continue to put up with the same old mistakes, or demand a leadership that truly acts in their favor. Poilievre doesn't mince words when describing what he sees as a failed coalition between Trudeau and Singh. According to him, this alliance has only succeeded in increasing economic problems, such as the cost of living, while Canada faces an unprecedented increase in crime and lack of access to basic necessities. For Poilievre, this coalition is nothing more than an empty political strategy, designed for both leaders to stay in power at the expense of the people. At every turn, he stresses that Canadians have received nothing in return, only more hardship. When Poilievre mentions the carbon tax, he does so firmly, pointing out that this policy has only raised the cost of living without producing the environmental benefits that Trudeau promised. The reason? According to him, Trudeau and Singh have imposed this tax without considering the real impact on ordinary citizens. Poilievre insists the carbon tax has been a heavy burden on families, who are now struggling to cover their daily expenses as they watch energy and food prices soar. Poilievre's approach is straightforward. Canadians cannot trust a government that says one thing and does another.